How's it going, New York Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Today we're giving you guys an update on the Martian. Has the man landed? We don't know just yet, but he's kicking some serious ass. And a lot of people were really concerned about Jasson Dominguez a couple months ago, asking about his offensive quality. Where was it? The slugging wasn't there. The numbers weren't there after being promoted to Double-A. And he's finally starting to see the light. He's finally starting to go towards the light. He's showcasing the offensive metrics that we want to see. And there may be an opening for him in AAA really soon. We may see Jasson Dominguez, if he gets, Ryan, you were just saying this right before the episode started, if he gets the Anthony Volpe treatment, we may see him start next year. We may see him in the MLB in 2024. However, he needs a little bit of action in AAA first. He needs to showcase he can hit AAA pitching. We're going to see exactly how this goes. But, Ryan, what are your thoughts on Jasson Dominguez so far? The last couple of weeks, especially the last 30 days, he's been excellent. And I think that we're really starting to see the potential of our number one prospect.
Yeah, so, Jasson Dominguez has a really good process at the plate. And I understand, given the context of the Yankees season, I imagine hearing the term process doesn't resonate very well with a lot of Yankee fans. But, I'm referring more to how he goes about his at-bats. Now, he's a very patient hitter. He does hit the ball pretty hard. His swinging strike rate's right around where it was at high A last year. And if you guys aren't familiar with what that is, that's just the amount of times you swing and miss on pitches you swing at, right? So, we're just trying to figure out how often he makes contact on his swings. Right around league average in that regard. He's not well above, not well below average. His strikeout rates, it is higher than what it was last year. And that is a concern. Like, you don't want to see the number jump up. But the context of him being 20 years old and a very raw prospect in Double-A should also matter here. We'll talk about guys like Spencer Jones, Chase Hampton, Drew Thorpe, all these type of guys. They're all older than Jasson Dominguez. These are all college guys. Like, Jasson Dominguez is an international free agent who lost a season of development. Because of the new wave of prospects, we're kind of forgetting the guys who were brought in 2020 and in 2019 who lost an entire year of development. For guys like Volpe, that only delayed his ETA by a year. For guys like Dominguez, that set him back a pretty significant margin. Now you can't work out with the team. You can't develop as a 16/17-year-old trying to get comfortable with all that stuff. That obviously threw some wrenches in his development, and yet he's rebounded, right? And in terms of peripheral metrics, we do have a metric called Batter Game Score Plus, also known as BAGS Plus. It's on Scout the Stat Line, that website. They do a really good job with prospect stuff, and one of their big numbers, obviously BAGS Plus here, it loves Jasson Dominguez. They think Jasson Dominguez is an MLB equivalent of a 111 WRC plus hitter in terms of his process. Alex, how many 111 WRC plus hitters are on the Yankees? I think it's just Gleyber Torres, Jake Bauers, and Aaron Judge. It's a very slim selection of guys who are putting up that production. And I'm not saying Jasson Dominguez can take major league at-bats right now and succeed. More so, Jasson Dominguez could take major league at-bats very early next year and do a really good job, right? Now, I know the Anthony Volpe situation, the way he's come up, and the fact that he really struggled to start the season is definitely something that people are going to point to as a, hey, maybe we shouldn't rush Jasson Dominguez. And I'm not arguing he should start out of camp, but I could see him come up in May. And I also think he's a much more impressive offensive prospect. Volpe does a really good job of just being a very well-rounded hitter, right? That's what he does very well. Jasson Dominguez can hit the ball like 114, 150 miles an hour, right? Like, you can't teach that, right? Like, you can't, that's freak of nature stuff, right? Like, that's Martian stuff. He's got much better plate discipline. Volpe did have good plate discipline coming up, but Dominguez really knows the strike zone. What makes Volpe a better prospect is, number one, the higher floor, and number two, he plays shortstop and a really good shortstop. Jasson Dominguez probably more of a left fielder than a center fielder, just based on what people have said from the Arizona Fall League. For what I saw when he visited Binghamton, he just feels like more of a left fielder, but I could be wrong on that. Overall, Alex, I think the big thing here is that the Yankees, with that Everson Pereira report, kind of open up a spot in AAA if he does come up. And I don't think it's going to be for, who even is left down there that's an outfield prospect that stands out. It's not going to be for Jason Rosario. Good dude, I met him, but it's not going to be for him. It's not going to be for TJ Rumfield, the first baseman. It's not going to be for Tyler Hardiman. He's the third baseman, right? So it feels like they're kind of like, all right, yes, the results aren't there, but our internal metrics and a lot of peripheral stuff love Jasson Dominguez. We're going to give him the push to AAA and kind of see how he handles that. And I think that Pereira call-up is going to kind of affect that timeline. So I think it'll be interesting, and I at least think there's something exciting about the Yankees being a little aggressive here.
I think so, too. I mean, right now, and we kind of talked about this before the episode started, the free agent market's really thin next year, guys. The outfield market, it's Cody Bellinger and then drop off into the Mariana Trench. What the Yankees have right now is a dearth of prospects that they can utilize. And ultimately, when you're actually considering the future of this team, what we've seen the Yankees do to their prospects in recent years has been nothing short of malpractice at times. The diminishing of Oswald Peraza, the fact that we have, even Carlos Narvaez, like Higashioka shouldn't be on this team, guys. Like Higashioka's a bad player. He's a below average catcher defensively. He ranks 16th in catcher framing runs and 30th in catch rate. And he's a terrible offensive player. He's like a 70 WRC plus. Well, why is Kyle Higashioka on this team? The numbers don't support it. Garrett Cole doesn't even use him anymore. He refuses to use the guy. He only wants Ben Rortvedt, and he's been yelling at Ben Rortvedt on the daily. You know what I mean? So you tell me, why are we not using some of our more prominent prospects? Why are we not leveraging some of these guys that are performing well? Austin Wells is playing well in AAA so far. Narvaez is good. He's a good defender too. We saw him in spring training. He hit some home runs. He hit for some power. He made some moments happen. I'd like to see a guy like that get a chance over a guy like Higashioka. Ben Rortvedt, he's performing terribly offensively so far, but at the very least, the sample size is small and we can't overreact to it. But the future certainly suggests that there's going to be some call-ups. We need to start leaning on some of our youth because, look, and I think that we're getting, the coaching staff or the manager, Boone and Cash, they get wrapped up in, the value that veterans bring to the team, but they're not good veterans. Higashioka's not a good baseball player, unfortunately. He's a good dude. No diss to him. He's just not that good of a baseball player. There are guys on this team that aren't really good baseball players, and I really just don't understand why we force feed them because they have experience. You know what I mean? If you have a rookie performing at the same level as a 10-year veteran, what's the difference if the stats are the same? You know what I mean? At least one guy has upside, right? This is the argument here. So in the outfield, I'd love to see Everson Pereira. They're going to call him up probably after the service time manipulation deadline where he doesn't accrue any service time. That's what I'm anticipating. Everson Pereira is having a pretty solid couple of weeks in AAA to start off. Jasson Dominguez, on the other hand, let me give you guys some numbers here. He's been excellent. Now, so on the year, he's hitting 238 with a 361 OBP. Obviously, nothing to write home about. But if you look at his more recent success in August, only 6 games, so only 29 plate appearances, hitting 400 with a 486 OBP, 600 slugging. However, the last 29 days, he's hitting 344 with a 416 OBP, 511 slugging, 927 OPS. He's hit 3 homers with 17 RBIs and 9 stolen bases. He has 11 walks and only 20 strikeouts. So, the 20 strikeouts over about 101 plate appearances or 90 at bats. That indicates he's probably at about a 23% strikeout rate, which is down pretty considerably because it was about 30. It was over 30% a couple weeks ago. So now he's starting to see that strikeout rate tick down. His on-base percentage remains really, really high. He's hitting for contact. He's hitting for some power. The 511 slugging would suggest that. And he's been absolutely fantastic against right-handed pitching. So you're seeing a player that's really just getting better. This is kind of what we saw with Volpe, for what it's worth. When it was actually he started slow, got better progressively. With 2 outs and runners in scoring position, Jasson Dominguez is hitting 258 with a 355 OBP, so he comes in clutch too. Certainly valuable there. But when you're looking at his stats, Ryan, if he does get promoted to AAA, how long do you think he needs there? Because I get the sense that I don't think they're going to treat him the same way as Volpe, but I could see it because we don't have that many options in the outfield. You can't rely on Stanton anymore to be an everyday outfielder. Do you think Jasson Dominguez has what it takes to play left field in Yankee Stadium? It's kind of a tough spot, but do you think that maybe that's where he ends up? I don't think he ends up in center field. I think he probably ends up in left if we're looking at him as a projection.
Yeah, so I think Pereira probably profiles a little bit better as a center fielder than Dominguez does. Now, their playing time wouldn't suggest that, but I that's just how I feel now. The one stipulation here is that Pereira does have some injury issues. There are some serious injury issues, durability things. He's not stealing as much because of it. I imagine they want to keep him in left field just so that they don't have to, have him play center field right now. But I wonder how that changes, right? I wonder how that kind of tweaks. Maybe it's his pregame preparation isn't very good. Who knows? The Yankees, they're gonna get a major league look at him, right? I know it sounds a little bit weird to say this, but as a major league organization, you have your internal data, right? But you're obviously you don't have your major league training staff working with the minor league guys, right? And typically speaking, your major league training staff's a lot better than your minor league guys. Your minor league guys are important, but overall, just that's typically where your financial allocations agree, right? Major league coaches get paid more, all that stuff. There's a reason for that. But overall, I think the really big takeaway when it comes to what you're looking at defensively here, and especially with Jasson Dominguez, right? Can Jasson Dominguez just keep getting better, right? Like, can he just keep getting better? Like, I know it sounds dumb to say it sounds very obvious, but can he keep progressing? Because at every level, that's all he's done. He's progressively gotten better. He's progressively improved. He's made tweaks to his game. This is a guy who's got a lot of upside, and he's got some time to work on it, right? Now, if it takes, until July of next year for him to be ready, that's fine, right? You can figure it out. But I think the big thing here for the Yankees is you've got to give him the chance, right? And in Pereira's case, you got to give him the chance. Like, you got to give these guys the chance to figure it out, especially if this team isn't in the playoffs or isn't really in the playoff picture. If they're 8 out on September 1st, right? Like, why is Pereira not in left field at that point, right? Obviously, I'm going to advocate for guys like Peraza as well, Randy Vasquez, maybe even Johnny Brito, whoever it may be. But overall, I think the really important thing for the Yankees to try to achieve this season is figure out some sort of their future, right? A little bit of their future, kind of figure out what positions they're going to lean heavily on to figure out internally and then externally in free agency. They can't have an offseason like they did last time, right? They can't just say, all right, Anthony Volpe, you're the guy we're bringing in, you're the new addition. Everything else stays the same, right? This year, it's got to be, all right, you know what? We're either going to push into a more youth-centric direction, or we're going to push, we're going to just go all in once again. We're just going to throw money at everything that moves and try to build some sort of super team, future be damned, right? You got to go all in, right? This isn't even just a baseball thing. This is a life thing. There are very few people who succeed in anything they try to do if they're not all in. And the Yankees have not been all in for a very long time. The last time they really had an all in direction was 2016. They didn't care how long you were on the team. They didn't care who was on the team. They traded you. And they were willing to trade you, and they went out and got prospects. Andrew Miller, very good reliever. They traded him. Aroldis Chapman, their big, shiny offseason addition. They traded him, right? Getting the green light to do those things, it gave the Yankees their starting second baseman right now in Gleyber Torres. I know that Justice Sheffield didn't pan out, but he turned into James Paxton. That's who was, he was traded for. That was a big pickup, right? Hell, you got Albert Abreu out of it, who turned into Jose Trevino, and then a okay reliever at best, but hey, turned into Jose Trevino, right? So, end of the day, Alex, how can you really say you're, figuring something out as an organization if you're not going all in? And as fans, I know Hal isn't watching this, but I imagine that part of why they didn't sell has to do with Hal not wanting to I can't give up on the season, the Yankees fans, whatever, right? I think fans, and I want to kind of ask you, I'm not going to speak for you on this front. I think I can get behind the Yankees selling and get behind the Yankees pushing all in one direction. We're fans of a lot of New York teams that have done that lately, right? The Giants entering last season, their process was amazing. Like, there were no guarantees of a postseason appearance. If they had gone 7-10, I think Giants fans still would have been happy. As a Knicks fan, I can say this team going in a direction and sticking to their youth and sticking to their process has netted them really good results, despite being a historically really incompetent franchise. So I guess the question I have for you, Alex, is, it feels like I feel like I'd accept the Yankees just picking a direction, even if that direction means you're not likely to win the World Series next year. What do you think about that, Alex?
I think picking a direction is something that we have to do. I don't like sitting in limbo, not knowing the plan. I don't like the fact that we've been kind of put in this spot where we don't know where the Yankees are going. Like, are they going to be sellers? Are they going to be buyers? Are they going to actually try to compete? Look, the Yankees when Aaron Judge came back, and this is sad, Ryan. When the Yankees got Aaron Judge back, they were 2.5 games out of the wild card. They're 5.5 games out of the wild card now. And they just lost to the Chicago White Sox last night, and they stranded the bases loaded 3 times. Or they scored 1 run out of 3 bases loaded opportunities. So, you tell me, this team doesn't even seem close to where it needs to be actual competitive. If we can't even score with the bases juiced against the White Sox, a terrible team, I have no faith. I have zero faith. I don't trust Cashman to turn it around because he hasn't. I don't trust Hal Steinbrenner to make any big decisions because he hasn't. Firing Dylan Lawson was a scapegoat mentality. Firing Dylan Lawson, it had to be done because something had to go. Somebody had to go and take accountability for what happened, but it should have been Cashman. Shouldn't have been, Dylan Lawson wasn't the biggest problem in this clubhouse. It's Cashman, because unless he's not the one making the decisions, the number of bad moves this team has made over the past couple of years is astounding. Frankie Montas, I mean, the guy hasn't even pitched for us this year, and he was supposed to be a big part. We botched that medical review badly, and it was a last second move because we had to do something, right? Andrew Benintendi, I mean, you couldn't have seen that coming, but I would have rather just brought him back on a reasonably cheap deal. I mean, he's having a fine season. He's a great contactor. Can't hit for power, but he gets on base, does some good stuff there. And we don't have any outfielders, so that would have maybe filled left field at the very least. You look at what the Yankees can do. It's give our prospects opportunities and invest in positions that actually need support, right? Like if we don't walk away from free agency with Cody Bellinger, we have to call up prospects. If we have to sit here and watch Billy McKinney and Jake Bowers and IKF start another season, I'm going to lose my mind. Like I'm going to lose my shit. And I've already lost it multiple times. You've lost it multiple times. We don't understand what the front office is doing. And they just keep repeating the same things, the same storylines, the same exact confidence building stuff. Like it's all in front of us. Everything, like our destiny is in front of us. Our best baseball is ahead of us. Guys, like there's not that much baseball ahead of us at all. We only have a couple weeks here and we're dropping in the standings against bad teams. So like, the question, to answer your question, yes, pick a direction. If you're gonna go with your youngsters, give them opportunities to play. If you're gonna go with free agents, go and sign free agents. But don't leave us sitting here. No one cares about your plan. Nobody You think the Orioles give a shit about the Yankees' plan right now? You think the Red Sox or the Blue Jays or the Rays care about what the Yankees are doing right now? They're not even worried about what the Yankees are doing right now. From the perspective of other teams, you're looking at the Yankees saying, they don't want to go over the next luxury tax threshold. They're not using their prospects. They're destroying any prospects that actually have value. They're murdering their stock. They have aging veterans who aren't playing well at multiple key positions. They're firing their hitting coaches. Their general manager can't make a trade to save his life. Their free agent signings are busts. I mean, Tommy Kahnle's been a disaster for us over the last couple of weeks, and we're paying him $6 million per year. Ryan, look, I know some people will defend the Kahnle signing, but you know was better than anybody else. Matt Blake finds value from guys that make no money. They were picking up Keenan Middletons of the world, and they're playing well for us. Ian Hamilton's of the world. Why did we dish out $12 million to Tommy Kahnle? I personally don't understand it. I have never got it. I know he's a great locker room guy, but he destroyed a fan the other day. He's throwing stuff in the dugout. Look, I like to see the energy, but you're also making yourself look bad when you're just expressing anger in the dugout. Like, it's not a good thing for the fans and the team to see these guys just getting angry and throwing shit and hitting stuff. Like, we're paying you $6 million to perform, not destroy fans in the freaking dugout. You know what I mean? Like, there's indications here of malpractice across the board. If I'm an opposing GM, I'm looking at the Yankees and I'm saying that team is in disarray right now. And the fact that I forget who said it, but somebody said if Brian Cashman was fired today, there'd be a host of teams looking to pick him up. I don't buy that. I don't think that's true. I think that he's completely out of touch right now with what actually works in the MLB. I think that they haven't picked a direction with the analytics or their guts. They're trying to find a balance. I don't know what it is. And I actually don't really think Aaron Boone's the problem at times. I think Aaron Boone's actually a fine manager at times. I think he makes mistakes every now and then, but he can't go up there and hit for his team. How much confidence can you give them when they're constantly hurting themselves? They loaded the bases 3 straight walks. Dylan Cease walks 3 straight batters, and they don't get anything out of that. I mean, what is he going to do there? Like, what do you do in those scenarios? So, yes, I mean, the Yankees need to pick a direction. I personally think it's one. The rest of the season, give your young guys an opportunity. Service time manipulation, who the fuck cares? Nobody cares about service time manipulation if you're not going to use your players, you're not going to trade them. They're just wasting these guys away. Look, service time manipulation doesn't really matter if you don't play them, 1, and 2, you're just using up other minor league options anyway. Oswald Peraza, he's almost out of minor league options. You know what I mean? Like these guys, Johnny Brito's almost out of minor league options. You need to give these guys opportunities to play consistently. Otherwise, their value is shot. What is the service time manipulation argument if we're not going to use them anyway? I don't really get what the Yankees are doing. And that's kind of where I stand on it. I don't know if you have any follow-up thoughts on that.
Yeah, ultimately, I think the big thing for me is, I like the Kahnle signing because the Yankees, money shouldn't be a problem for the Yankees. But the issue is, for some reason, money is a problem for the Yankees, right? For some reason it is, right? And more so, I think what makes signing relievers tough to justify for the Yankees isn't as much a development, but the fact that they're so bad at spending efficiently on their offense, it makes other signings look worse. Like, realistically, like, the Rodon signing looks bad right now. Like, don't get me wrong. Looks really bad right now. It doesn't project very well if he's going to keep dealing with injuries. Like, I'm a realist on that. I understand. The stuff looks good, but you need the guy to pitch, right? Like, if he doesn't pitch, it doesn't matter. But would you say you'd be as upset with that contract if the Yankees, like, didn't spend $50 million on Josh Donaldson, or $20 million this year and next year on Anthony Rizzo each, or, you know, have $45 million left on DJ LeMahieu's contract, or 4 years of Stanton's deal left, or, you know, Aaron Hicks still owing him the money, even though he's playing for Baltimore and has done a pretty decent job with them. Obviously not saying the Yankees should have kept him, but you get my point, right? It's a lot. It sucks because a lot of the pitchers, like pitching, there's variance. There are going to be guys who are going to get hurt. That happens. There's a lot more variance in pitching injuries than other position groups. But man, like, it's like you can't have the most expensive position player group in the league and have a team 95 WRC plus. I'm not even making that up either. The Yankees have spent more money on their position players than any other team entering this season. That doesn't feel like how you can say how mess things up by not allowing them to sell. But can you say how messed things up by giving Cashman the largest budget for position players out of any GM that got that budget? Like, for me, it feels, you can argue, like, yeah, Cashman probably got screwed at the deadline. Like, if he wasn't given the opportunity to sell, like, I can't criticize Cashman as hard because, end of the day, like, you were supposed to sell. Like, I get not buying on this team. This team's not very good. Like, I'm not upset that they didn't buy. But at the same time, like, you shouldn't have been in this position in the first place, if you get what I'm saying here, right? Now, I'm not one of these people that think that it has to be another GM who gets the job done. I'm willing to accept whoever in the organization steps up and says, this process is flawed, things got to get done differently. I've said this plenty of times. But it feels like there's probably got to be a change in voice or a change in what's going on here. The process is off. Something is wrong with the process. You can't say good process, bad result for everything. There are things that are a bad process here. They're a very old team, not very young team, not very dynamic. That makes you a highly volatile team. Read a couple articles entering the season. The Yankees were one of the most volatile pitching staffs in baseball in terms of injury outcomes. So if you build a volatile team, you're going to get some really good ones. You're going to get some really bad ones. And last year, it was Jekyll and the Hyde, right? So ultimately, get a little younger, get a little more athletic, and try to figure out a couple things this season. Answer a couple questions about your front office and your process, as you enter 2024. You just need a direction. I need a direction at this point.
And hopefully we find one, because right now I certainly don't see it. Hopefully Jasson Dominguez gets promoted to AAA. We start to see some good production from him there. Everson Pereira looks good, and we have some solutions. Like, there are opportunities to find solutions the rest of the year. The Yankees need to take them. We can't continue rolling with the same guys. I mean, at what point does it not make sense anymore? Like, I'd rather see Pereira than Billy McKinney. Like, I'd rather see Pereira than IKF, because at least we're seeing the future. IKF's probably gone next year. I mean, unless they bring him back, which I guess is possible. Billy McKinney's probably gone next year. I like Jake Bauers as a depth piece, but I sure as hell don't want to see him starting. Right now, and Harrison Bader's probably gone as well. So, there are things we can do to see the future, and right now the future doesn't look like a wild card appearance. I'll tell you that. So I definitely want to hear your perspectives below in the YouTube comments, my friends. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. I'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.